Hello, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, my name is Emmanuel. In today's video, we're going to be creating a bulk file rename application with Python. So what it does is it renames every file in a directory according to what you give it. But I've gotten a bunch of files here which we're going to be using to test. As you can see, I renamed this one already with Python. So I'm going to show you how it works. I'm already in this is the file. Okay, so I'm going to run it. When I run it, I'm going to pass the directory I want to rename files from. Okay, so I'm going to come here, grab this directory, grab this, Ctrl C, and I'm gonna paste it here. Okay, so now I run it. So it's asking me what name do I want to rename it to. So instead of Jane, I'm gonna give it class. So as you can see, rename from Jane1 to class 1, and you might have seen the change here in the background. So now we have class 1, class 2, class 3, and you can see even this Python file was renamed. So if I open it, this Python file, you see it still works. Okay, that's even the code. But before we continue, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe so others can get to see this tutorial and learn from it as beginners, and click the notification bell so you don't miss my next content. Now let's get into the video. So of course we're gonna need to open, let's call it bulk file name. For those of you that are wondering what's this, this is a list of the applications I've created already. So I'm gonna create a new file. Let's save it and call it main.py. Okay, yeah, now I know I didn't buy it. Okay, it doesn't matter. Now the first thing we want to do is we're going to be making use of a built-in Python library, which is the OS library. Basically it's a very simple code. So we're going to do import OS. And before you start project like that, as beginners, normally you would do your research. Okay, so from your research, that's where you would get to know some more libraries. But I've been with Python for a long time, so I know this OS already. Okay, the first thing we want to do is we want to get the directory where we want to rename files from. Okay, so we're gonna do, but mind you, while renaming the files, I'm gonna show you how you can change this from class 1 to just numbers if you want to rename it to numbers. But I think it makes sense giving it a name and then having a number behind it. Okay, so now we're gonna come here, and then to do that we're gonna say files, or let's say base directory. Okay, so this is gonna hold the directory where we want to save our files, while our files is gonna be os.path, sorry, os.list there. Okay, we're gonna save that, print files. So what this os.list there does is it lists every file in this present directory. Okay, so if you call it without passing an argument to it like this, it's gonna take the argument to be just dot, which is this present directory. So if I should run this file now, Ctrl B to run it, and if you're running a file in Sublime for the first time and it doesn't work, press Ctrl Shift B and then choose Python up here. So when you run it as Ctrl B, you should see it here. Okay, so this is the only file in the directory presently. Now the way we're going to build this file is we're not going to be renaming only the files in the present directory. We're going to be renaming files in different directories. So I don't want us to be copying this file to any directory we want to rename files from. So we're going to be passing a directory in here. Normally this would be an input statement, as you saw when I tried running the code. But for now we're just going to make it static so we can, okay, we're going to make it static so we can just learn the whole process, and then we'll change that back to an input statement. So we're going to copy this, and then we're going to come here and paste it. So this is where we're going to be renaming it from. As you can see, we have some errors. We're going to put this here. We're going to escape the backslash. Normally in Python, backslashes have their own functionality. They have what they do. So using just a backslash in a string will cause an error, so you have to put two backslashes to escape this one. Okay, so we have this one behind it to escape this one in front of it. That's why we have two there, and then we're going to put another one here. Okay, so that should work. And now if I should put base there here, and then I run with Ctrl B, now you see we have a list of all the files in the directory. As you can see, class 1 to class 10. We've gotten that. Let me expand this. I think expanding it will be better. Okay, so we've gotten that. So next thing we want to do now is we're gonna loop through our files so we can rename it. Okay, so we're gonna do for file in files. First thing we want to do is we want to get the present directory. So if I print file, we're going to be making use of a function in the OS library called the rename function. So that rename function works like this. It's going to be os.rename it's gonna take the former part you want to the former part of the file. For example, in this case, class 1.py. So it's gonna take all of this, then slash the name of the file. Okay, in this case, but how do we get all of this together slash name of the file? So one thing you can do is you can add this with the name of the file here. Okay, this file here. So if I let me comment this, I run it. So you can add this with this by just doing this. So you can do present file name is equals to base dar plus, so we're gonna do this, add two backslashes, and then we're gonna do plus again, and then name of the file. So if I print present file, okay, now you see it works well. There's another way we can do this, but I'm gonna show you the way after we finish coding it. Well, at, as at the start, we're gonna keep using this one. Okay, now we're gonna come down here, and then we're gonna do if os dot path dot exist. Okay, so what you want to check is if this path exists, if it's real. So you don't want to fall into any error while trying to rename it. We're gonna come here and put plus it here. Okay, so if this file exists, then we're gonna do what we want to do. So now we're gonna print present file name here instead. We're gonna clear that and run it. Okay, so the present file name do exist. Okay, so which means this is working well. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to get input from the user on the name we want to rename it to. Okay, so basically what do we want to rename our file as? So we're gonna do to name, let's just call it cool for now. It's gonna be an input statement as well, of course. We're gonna call that cool for now, and we're gonna say to name. Okay, but before we do what I want to do here, we're gonna put a continue here. Okay, so what this continue does is if this part doesn't exist, it's just gonna continue to the top of this here. Okay, it's gonna continue to the top over here. Else then we want to continue the perform our operation. So this is gonna be to file name. File name is gonna be our base directory. Remember, we want to save this in the same directory but with a different file name. So it's gonna be base directory plus a double backslash plus to name. So instead of having our file name, it's gonna be plus the to name, and then remember this to name is just cool. So we have to add the extension of this file to it. Okay, so it can work. Now the extension of this file, we don't want to have this just coded here because it's gonna be long. And remember, you don't want your line to exceed 79 characters. So I'm gonna create a variable here for the file extension. We're gonna do file extension. Then file extension is gonna be os dot path. Okay, it's gonna be os dot split text. Then we're gonna pass the present file name to it. Okay, so let's print file extension. So let's confirm that works. We're gonna run that. Okay, so we have to comment this. This is not complete. So if we run that, oh my bad, sorry, mistake. So it's always the path dot split text rather. Okay, yeah, that is. So as you can see, it returns the name of the file and then the extension .py. Of course, you can use dot split instead and use it here. But what if you have a file where you have multiple dots in the file name? Okay, so that's the reason I'm using the split text. The split text will only pick the last the last dot and then the name of the file extension. That's why I'm using the split text. Then we're gonna take the second one, which is at index of 1. Cool. So then we have that. If I should run it again, now you see we have the png and the py. That works well. Now we're gonna clear this. So imagine if I copy this and paste this here. We're gonna do Ctrl C, Ctrl forward slash to and comment. If I paste it here, as you can see, we have 83 lines here. Okay, that's why I don't want to paste that there. So we're gonna do plus file extension. Ooh, now let's print out to file the file name. Let's run it. Okay. I'm not seeing anything here. File name is supposed to be to name is supposed to have cool plus the file extension. Maybe we need to add an underscore, of course. So let's do underscore, and then if you do it this way, yeah, something just came to my mind now. If you do it this way, then we're gonna be renaming all the files as cool, and which is gonna keep overwriting itself, and then we're just gonna end up with just one file. So what you're gonna do is we're gonna create the counter variable. Okay, we're gonna call it a counter. You're gonna put that to be 1 or whatever you want to put it as. But if you're gonna be using 1, then you're gonna be adding to it at the end of the file after you rename. But you're gonna see what I mean in a second. So we're gonna do os the part dot to name plus underscore and then plus. Since we're using plus here, we have to convert the integer to a string. Okay, this is 75. So now let's print. Okay, we're gonna save that, and then we're gonna do to find name plus this underscore the name, then plus extension. So if you run this now, we're not getting what we want. So what we're gonna do is, oh my bad, oh my bad. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, this year was we made a mistake here. Forgive me for that. I didn't always the part that exists. So if you exist, we're actually going to the top and doing that again. We're not coming down here. So what we are supposed to do is, if not, so if not x the part that exists, rather, pardon me, if not os the part that exists, they want to continue. So if that part doesn't exist, we want to continue to the next file in the directories. Forgive me for that. Okay, so we have that code 11111. Now at the end of, after we name, we always want to add one to our counter, so we don't have code 111 every time. Okay, plus equals to 1. This is augmented assignment operation. If you don't know, it adds 1 to counter itself. Okay, you can use minus, times, and division here as well. So now if I do this now, we're gonna have different file names for the different files we are renaming. So if I run this now, as you can see, we have code 1. So this is what we want basically. We have that working and in place. So we're gonna do, now we're gonna make use of our rename. So what we want to do is we're gonna say rename from our present file name to our to file name. So this is basic. This is how it works. Now if you are wondering why aren't we checking if this path exists, of course this to file name doesn't exist. This is what we want to rename our present file name to. So we're gonna say always the rename this, and this is what we want to rename that to, and then we're gonna add one to the counter. So when we come back here again, we're not going to be saving it with code 1, we're gonna be saving it with code 2. But if that part doesn't exist, then we don't want to add one. Okay, so that's why we have continue. Now you see the reason why we have continue. If it doesn't exist, we just want to come back to the next file without performing any other operation. Now you know why we have this. Okay, so we're gonna save that now, and then if I run it, so let's go back to our directory and check. Now you see everything has renamed to cool. Okay, now we're gonna, before we change this to input statement, we're gonna change this. Instead of doing it this way, we're gonna be using the OS library to do this instead. So we have just OS library in our code. By the way, this is okay, but I'm gonna be showing you how to use the OS library as well. So we're gonna do os.path.join and then the base directory with the file. So you don't have to worry about putting slash every time. Just os.path.join this, and then it works. So I'm gonna this is present file name, and then we're gonna do the same thing for this. Okay, so we're gonna do os.path.join the base directory. Then want to join our file, but instead of just adding our file, remember we have to add the to name with the underscore and then the counter. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use an f string. You can use the format, you can use whatever you want. I'm gonna be using an f string here. So I'm gonna do this. So the first one is gonna be to name, and then underscore the counter. Then remember our file extension already has the dots in it already. So if it's .jpeg, it's gonna have the dot in it already. We don't have to worry about putting a dot here. So we're gonna do then file extension. Then we're gonna close that there and put our string there. Okay, so this should work. Now let me change this to pyt python. Okay, let me save that and run it now. So if I run it, I come here up tab. Now we have it to a Python. So that works. Now we see we've made it look simpler here just by using the path.join, and now let's change this to input statements. We're gonna do input. We're gonna say, okay, let's just put directory of files. So put your directory of files in here, and then to name. So, sorry, we're gonna do input new name. Now I told you if you wanted to, I'm gonna teach you how to change this to numbers instead if you don't want to use to name. So instead of just using to name, you can just use close this here and then just use your counter. So it's gonna be 1 dot that, 2 dot that, 3 dot that. So before we do that, I'm gonna save this. Then we're gonna open this in containing folder. Okay. So for those of you that don't know why I open this in containing folder, so that we can run this in CMD. In Sublime, you cannot run an input statement in Sublime. Okay, so if I run it now, it won't work if I press enter. Okay, so that's why I'm not running it in Sublime. So we want to run it in our CMD, or if you're using Linux or Mac in your terminal. So I'm gonna come back here. Okay, this is not it. We're gonna come back Okay, so this is, just make sure you're in the directory. Once you click on open continue folder, it should take you to the directory, and then come up here. If you're on Windows as I am, and press enter, should open this. But if you're on Mac or Linux, just right click and you should see open the terminal in the menu. Okay, so we're gonna come here, and then we're gonna do Python, and then name of the file main.py. Okay, main.py. So if I run it now, it asks me for the directory of the files. Okay, so I'm gonna come here. We're gonna copy this. Now whenever you're copying this, you don't need to worry about putting double slash here. Okay, it's gonna be handled already since we're using the input statement. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. So we're gonna press enter, and then the new name, let's give it tech. Okay, so if I press enter, as you can see, we have this. So if I come back here, see we have tech 1 2 3 4 5 till 10. So what you can do is just put print rename to, and then print renamed from, pardon me. So we're gonna put present file name. Okay, so you know what it renamed from. Now let me show you this first. If I remove this, so what we are going to have is, we're not going to be using this to name anymore. Even if you pass something to it, we'll just be having the counter and the name extension of the file. So it depends on what you want to do. So if I run it again, we're going to press arrow up to get this back, and if I press enter, if you know I press whatever I put here, is not going to affect it. So as you can see, we named from this tech1 to just 1.py 2.png. So if you check it again, you can see we have just numbers there. So I hope you understand how we did this, and you should be able to implement your own. If you have any questions, make sure you comment down the comment section down below. I'm going to make sure I answer your questions. And before we go, I just wanted to bring to your notice that, for example, if the files you wanted to rename are in your desktop, and you come up here and you notice you only have desktop here, you can't run it this way, else you're going to get an error. So if I copy just desktop and try to run it, okay, this is it. So if I copy desktop and try to run it and paste just desktop there, as you can see, we get an error. So you can handle this error with try except statements. But if you don't know what that means, just check my video on exceptions. I'm gonna link in down in the description below, and you're gonna see a card up here right now where you can just click and to take you to the video. Okay, so as you can see, it's not working. So let me show you how to deal with that. The way you can do it with that is that if you press arrow up, let me come drag this up. So as you can see, instead of, you can just copy this with desktop and paste it, or just come to your drive here, come to this PC, come to your drive here. You're gonna go to users. Okay, go to the present user you are in, then you're gonna come to desktop. Okay, so this way you should be able to grab it in the exact same way. Okay, so I don't want to rename the files in my desktop. So if I run it now and paste it and put it here, okay, I didn't copy it, let me copy it and I paste it here. You see we don't get any error. So I don't want to rename the files in my desktop, so I'm going to use Ctrl Z to terminate the code, and that works. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and make sure you comment down in the comment section below so I know how you feel about the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, guys.